Hey everybody, and thanks for watching this week's edition of All Things Universal Orlando. Today we're going to look at the top 5 attractions on Studio's side that need a retheming. Before we get going in this week's countdown, I'm going to ask you to like and subscribe and hit the bell notification so that you can be made aware every time we post a new video. Thanks for doing that. So let's get right to it. Before I get into the countdown, I want to let you know I've done a little bit of research to find out what it takes for Universal to create an attraction. The easiest thing for them is if they own the property or they own the rights to the movie or the characters or the attraction in and of itself. But there are examples of them negotiating with other companies to have licensing rights to create attractions and characters. And examples would be Warner Brothers with Harry Potter or Nickelodeon with SpongeBob, things like that. But they always like to use their properties better, and understandably so. There's no big fees regarding lawyers and licensing agreements and things like that, and sharing of costs and those kind of things. So Universal, just like everybody else, would prefer to use their properties. So I've considered that somewhat in these rethemings, but not a lot. I've also included the idea of what I think would be a better suggestion in the retheming, and that does include partnering with some of these other companies. So let's get right to it. Number 5. Number 5, animal actors on location. Listen, I like this show. It's a pretty good attraction in and of itself. It's just dated and not very popular. I guess dated is wrong. Training animals is a popular thing, there's no doubt about it, but I just don't know how appealing it is to a younger crowd to watch a bird fly across a stage and grab a dollar out of a guy's hand, or a cat run up and down a rock, and you get my point. I just don't know how appealing this is. Even in busy peak times, the theater's not overly crowded. I can't remember the last time I've been there when it had more than a third to 50% capacity. And that tells me something. That tells me that the appeal of this show isn't there. So what I'm suggesting that they make is a live Dora the Explorer action show. You already have the character rights. How hard would it be to create a show that's maybe a little more relevant and appealing to a younger crowd today? Dora is a popular, iconic children's character, and she has some longevity. She's been around for a while, and so has Diego. And this opens up some options with the whole backpack theme. You could create a real live-action show that's basically a simple episode of Dora trying to find something. And I think kids would find that very appealing. I also think that Universal needs to capitalize on kid-appealing attractions, because outside of Islands of Adventure's Seuss Landing, there's nothing for little kids to do here, and it's one of the reasons Disney does so well, is because everything in Disney just about is family friendly. So I think Universal needs to stick with something kids-owned area here near the Kid Zone, and I think Dora the Explorer is a good live-action show to take place of animal actors. Number 4. Let's revamp the entire Kid Zone. It's dated and not relevant. Kids today don't know who Woody Woodpecker is. Most of them don't know who Barney is. They certainly don't know who Fievel is or Curious George. And most of them really don't even know who E.T. is. I mean, they just don't. That's not what's popular with kids today, and that's what's popular in this Kid Zone with Universal. So my suggestion is very simple. Retheme the entire Kid Zone area into Bikini Bottom. You're going to have to work with Nickelodeon to get the rights to SpongeBob, but you already have the rights to some of the characters in the meet and greets. I don't know the nuances or legalities that would go behind creating an attraction or using those kind of themes, but it can't be too far off considering you already have a SpongeBob store right there on property. But what if you rethemed Woody Woodpecker's Nut House coaster to Plankton's Escape? You could paint it green and put Plankton on the front of the car. You could have Mr. Lawrence, who's the guy who does the voice of Plankton,
run you out of business. I went to college.
Those kind of things would be a pretty cool element that you could hear while riding around the Nut House coaster, much like you hear on King and Kodos. I just think it would be a really cool thing that kids would like and adults would like as well. SpongeBob is appealing to adults as well as kids, and that's capitalizing on something. So from that, you could go to Curious George Goes to Town and turn that into something like an interactive Krusty Krab. Imagine going inside the Krusty Krab. The photo ops would be amazing. You could do character meet and greets there. It's just an endless opportunity of what you could do. You could have Squidward behind the counter. You could have SpongeBob at the grill flipping things. You could buy replicas of his spatula. There's just so many things you could do there by turning that area into an interactive Krusty Krab. I think they should do that. Next, A Day in the Park with Barney is a long, old, and dated show. So why not turn it into a live-action SpongeBob show? Imagine going into the theater and seeing SpongeBob's Pineapple or Squidward's Home or Patrick's Rock, but here they come and you could have an entire SpongeBob episode lived out right before you. Kids and adults would like that as well. It's a nice place to go in and cool off. But as a parent, when you go in there to watch Barney, I'm bored out of my mind. In fact, I don't like it and I don't do it. I'm really glad my youngest is in her teens, so I don't have to go see this attraction. But you know what? If it was a live-action SpongeBob, I would go. I'd probably go even without my teen. My point is, this is more appealing and more relevant to today. Turn Fievel's Playland into Sandy's Tree Dome or something like that. Again, it could be interactive. Sandy could be there. It could be meet and greet. It could just be a fun place to play. Sandy's Tree Dome is outside. You could have a playground area. You could keep incorporating the water slide. There's just so many things that you could do here. And I think that keeping it themed around Bikini Bottom and SpongeBob is the way to go. Last, here's the big one. This is one people aren't going to like, but I think it's necessary. E.T. Adventure has run its course. It's gone everywhere else it's been. It's not in Japan anymore, and it's not in Hollywood anymore. And you know why? It's not relevant anymore. That's why. They're not making new E.T. movies. And just because some of you watching this are like me and nostalgic and like that it's essentially the only real opening day attraction that's still around, we kind of want to keep that. But why? I think we can do better. Imagine if you changed the bicycle cart that carries you on the E.T. ride into the Krusty Krab mobile, and you put 4 or 6 people in there and you just traveled through Bikini Bottom. You wouldn't have to change too terribly much, and it wouldn't be a huge overhaul in expense. And that's what I think you should do with E.T.'s Adventures. Turn it into a SpongeBob travel through Bikini Bottom. I just think that would be absolutely awesome, and again, appealing to kids and adults alike. And I think Universal needs to do this. Think about Disney. One of the reasons Disney has such a larger draw is because everything there is family friendly. But even things like Peter Pan's Flight and Snow White and Winnie the Pooh, I don't know how relevant these things are to little kids as much as, say, SpongeBob. Every kid knows who SpongeBob is. And I think kids in that 4 to 10-year-old range would rather ride a SpongeBob attraction than Winnie the Pooh. So even though Disney has the magic and that appeal is always going to be there and good for them, I think this would be a great coup for Universal to capture an element of kids that they don't currently have. So that's why I think E.T. Adventure should be rethemed to a SpongeBob ride. So number 4 is retheme the Kid Zone. Turn it into Bikini Bottom. I think you'll be better served that way.
Number 3.
Fast and the Furious. Now, this is a Universal property. It's not going to be changed, and I know that because they just spent millions of dollars opening this complete waste of time. There's a real problem when the queue is drastically better than the attraction, and that is the case here. The acting in the pre-show is really bad, and then you get on a ride that's really ridiculous. It's not believable, it's not fun, it's painfully bad, in fact. Universal really missed the mark here. I was hoping it might be like Jimmy Fallon, which when Jimmy Fallon's Race Through New York first came out, I didn't much care for it, but the more I ride it, the better it gets. That is not the case with Fast and the Furious. The more I ride it, the more I become upset with myself for riding it again, thinking something's going to happen that didn't happen last time. This just isn't a good attraction and it needs a retheming. I could probably do a top 5 reasons Fast and the Furious needs to be rethemed, but I'm not going to. At least not now. So what I'm suggesting is that we change Fast and the Furious into Godzilla. Godzilla is a Warner Brothers property, but so is Harry Potter, so we know that can be worked out. And maybe you're thinking Godzilla in that same format would be exactly like Kong Skull Island. Maybe, but Transformers is exactly like Spider-Man and it works. And Godzilla has shown to be generational. It's been around forever, and every time a Godzilla-themed movie comes out, it does well. So I think it's a viable property to build an attraction around, and I think Fast and the Furious Supercharged has the mechanism to do it. Yes, it would be expensive, and no, they're not going to do it, but one can hope. So number 3 is Fast and the Furious.
Number 2.
Shrek 4D. I like Shrek. I'm a Mike Myers fan. I think he's hysterical. And I think he did a great job with Shrek. But again, it's dated and I don't know how relevant that it is. Not to mention that the 3D isn't very good. And I think that we see, or we certainly hear a lot about Secret Life of Pets and How to Train Your Dragon, that these are going to be attractions that Universal brings into the fold, and I think they probably will. In fact, just a side note, of the top 10 highest grossing movies that Universal owns the rights to, Secret Life of Pets is the only one that they haven't put an attraction around. And so I think there's a likelihood that this becomes a Secret Life of Pets show, but I'm recommending How to Train Your Dragon. I think it's more fun. In fact, I liked that movie better, although I'm in the minority there. Secret Life of Pets did hit substantially better in the box office. But I don't know that that matters when it comes to attraction. I think that they're both appealing to little kids, and little kids would like to sit in a show for 20 minutes if the 3D is good and it's entertaining. And then parents won't mind as much as well. Not to mention the meet and greet opportunities for either one of those attractions are readily available there already at the park. So what I'm suggesting is that work with Illumination or DreamWorks or whoever owns the rights to whether it's How to Train Your Dragon or Secret Life of Pets, and let's create a new 4D experience where you currently have Shrek 4D. That's number 2. So before we get to the number 1 attraction that needs retheming, let's recap the top 5. Number 5 is Animal Actors on Location. It's a good show, it's just dated and never popular, so I'm suggesting a live-action Dora the Explorer show. Number 4, retheme all of Kid Zone into Bikini Bottom, including E.T., turn it into an interactive SpongeBob ride, make Woody Woodpecker's coaster Plankton's Escape, Curious George can become interactive Krusty Krab, A Day in the Park with Barney becomes a live-action SpongeBob show, Five-O's Playland could become Sandy's Tree Dome. I just think this would do tremendously good things for Universal. I want to talk a little bit about Nintendo right now. We've heard for a long time that Nintendo is coming into this area, but there is no progress to speak of there. And we have also heard the rumor that with Universal opening up a new theme park, that Nintendo might be going there, and I think that makes better sense. So that's probably what we're going to have here, is either this area needs to be rethemed, and it's probably not going to be Nintendo. So why not make it SpongeBob? Number 3, Fast and the Furious. Let's turn it into Godzilla, or literally anything else. Literally anything else would be better. Number 2, Shrek 4D. It just needs to be redone. It needs better 3D and something more relevant than Shrek. So why not go with Secret Life of Pets or How to Train Your Dragon? I don't know that it really matters which one you do. So here it is.
Number 1.
The number 1 attraction that needs to be rethemed at Universal Studios? Fear Factor Live. You all know where I'm going with this. It sits right there, this huge theater, this huge property. And no one goes to Fear Factor Live. You know why? Because no one likes Fear Factor Live. So shoot it in the head. Be done with it. Let's be finished with this. Close it up. Be done with it and turn it into the Ministry of Magic. It's right there at the end of London. The theming works. And every time Universal opens up something Harry Potter, people go bananas. Just look at the new Hagrid roller coaster. Everyone who rides this says it is the best thing in Orlando. And I think they're probably right. I can't wait to ride it. Hasn't happened yet, but I can't wait to do it. Probably looking at September. And once I do that, man, I'm going to be talking about that for sure. But Harry Potter is the largest franchise of any movie. It's owned by Warner Brothers, but you've already worked those rights out. You have the favor of J.K. Rowling. Imagine, you don't even have to put an attraction there. It would be, when people go in there, the same reaction that they have when they go into Diagon Alley for the first time. You would have so many people lined up to come see this that Disney wouldn't know what hit them. Galaxy's Edge has taken a beating in California. They're not increasing the numbers, and even though the theming's great, I just don't know how relevant Star Wars is anymore after Disney killed the franchise with too many movies. But that hasn't happened with Harry Potter. Retheme Fear Factor Live into the Ministry of Magic and watch the magic happen, because I'm telling you, that would be a draw. That would be a coup the likes of which I don't think Universal could imagine. And that would be something that they could hang their hat on and they could just say, boom, look what we did. And all of us would like that. Everybody watching this video would say, yep. So listen, that's my top 5 attractions that I think need to be rethemed, and I've made a few suggestions. In the comment section below, leave your suggestions, things that you think are great ideas. I'd love to hear about them, and maybe we do another show talking about them. Hey, remember, sharing is caring. Like and subscribe, hit the bell notification so you can be made aware every time we have a video. And do me a favor, go out and bless somebody else today.